Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me live today. It is Friday, August 21st. Ooh, the summer is almost over. Okay, thank you so much for joining me live. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Faith Okpotor. I am the creator and head coach of a college admissions coaching program called CFF College Fully Funded. This is my weekly live, which is supposed to be at 4 p.m. It's 4:15 today, but typically every week is at 4 p.m. So um, I hope you can show up live, and if not, please feel free to put your comments put your questions in the comments, and I'll be able to answer them hopefully in a future live or answer them directly. Um, Also, if you like what you hear, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe so that other people and other families can also find information that would help them in their college admissions and funding journey. Okay, so let's get into it for today. Today's topic is, can families earning more than $100,000 still receive financial aid? Okay, that's this topic. And I want to start by telling you that income is not the whole story when it comes to um, admissions with aid or college financial aid. Okay. And this is a common question that I have heard from parents and families, particularly those who make, um, you know, households that have at least six-figure income or six-figure income and more. All right. So the question always is, oh my gosh, I don't think we're ever going to qualify for financial aid. We make six figures, so let's not even bother. Okay. I've had that question in different iterations come up again and again and again. And part of the reason why this question keeps coming up, it stems from FAFSA, right? The free application for federal student aid. And FAFSA, of course, is the most common vehicle for accessing need-based financial aid, right? So this is the federal form through which students can access federal financial aid and sometimes state financial aid. Now, for a lot of people, if they're not eligible for any kind of funding after filling out the FAFSA form or even try using the FAFSA calculator, then they automatically think, oh, we're not eligible for federal financial aid. We earn too much. That means we're not eligible for financial aid, period. And those two things are different. And they mean that the idea that because you're not eligible for federal financial aid, therefore you will not be eligible for any other kind of financial aid, is not the case for every student. Okay. It might be the case if your student, if your child or you um, plan on going to a college where the main need-based aid is federal financial aid or state financial aid. So for example, state schools, right? So think about all of the different state universities in the different states. Now, however, if you are targeting a lot of schools that have substantial institutional need-based aid, right? Institutional need-based aid, and this is usually mostly private schools. If those are the kinds of schools that you're applying to, just because the FAFSA calculator tells you that your family makes too much to be able to get federal financial aid, that does not mean that you cannot get institutional aid at some of these schools, right? So if we think about mostly private schools, private universities, liberal arts colleges, where the cost of attendance is usually very high. These schools typically use their own financial aid forms and or CSS profile in addition to FAFSA. And they have their own formulas for evaluating eligibility for need-based financial aid. So again, just because FAFSA, when you use the FAFSA calculator, you're not eligible for federal financial aid, does not mean that you're going to be ineligible for private aid or institutional aid from these schools that have a high cost of attendance. All right. Okay. So Why do some so-called well-off families, how do they end up paying less for college? How do they end up becoming eligible for financial aid and paying less, right? Why are they eligible for financial aid at these private schools that I just talked about, these private colleges and universities? The way I like to describe this is that these schools, these private colleges, have an expansive definition of wealth. Okay, so you might think, oh my God, we make we're a six-figure household, and so we're not eligible for federal financial aid. So there's no way we're going to get any aid. That's not necessarily the case because many of these private schools have an expansive definition of wealth. So think of schools like the Ivy League and their peer institutions um, that have huge endowments. And this is despite the fact that we all acknowledge that higher education has been facing some really, really serious challenges lately, but these schools still have high endowments and they still have big institutional financial aid budgets. All right. So that is why these schools, they use their own formulas and their own forms in addition and or CSS profile. And by so doing, they determine what a family can reasonably afford. And based on that determination, even a family with a household income of $100,000 or more may receive substantial financial aid. So just like admission, college admission is holistic, at these schools, financial aid is also uh, involves a holistic assessment of a family's assets and liabilities. Okay, and in the end, the very expensive private school could end up being the cheaper option for a family than um, an state university or state college, for example. Okay. Um, so I'm going to give you a concrete example of one of our former students. So this student came to us as a transfer student. Okay. So when they went through the CFF College Fully Funded program, they applied as a transfer applicant. But before that, the previous year, the student had applied to all of the prestigious schools you can think of, all the Ivy Leagues, their peer institutions, so the Dukes, the Stanfords, the Johns Hopkins, the MITs, those kinds of schools. And this student got rejected at all of them. And that was the level of school they were targeting. And so never really applied to some other colleges. And because of that, they, you know, when they did not get accepted at any of these schools, the student was sort of almost stranded towards the end of the admission cycle. And so now had to start applying to colleges, mostly state colleges out of state with rolling admissions. So in doing that, they were able to secure a spot in an out-of-state university's branch campus. Okay. Now, of course, there was no financial aid. This family, they make six figures and more, and there was no financial aid, so they had to pay out of pocket. Now, when this student came to us, went through our program, went through CFF College Fully Funded, and applied as a transfer student. Of course, we work on building a proper um, college list. But student applied to many of the same schools that they had been rejected at the previous year, so the Ivy Leagues. In the end, these students secured admission at several of those prestigious schools, all of them private, some of them Ivy League, and some of them Ivy League, and secured admission at received several admission offers with funding. The funding packages ranged from $55,000 to $79,000 per year. And every one of those offers that the student received would cost that family less than they were paying at the state university branch campus where the student attended for their first year. Okay, so what is the lesson here, right? What is the lesson here? School choice matters, right? I can't say that enough. School choice matters. The college list, the list of schools to which a student applies, is a strategic decision that entails a lot of thought and know how. It is not random. And that is one of the things we do really well in CFF College Fully Funded, right? We help our students build strategic lists that take into account best fit for the student, best fit for their aspirations and their family's values, but also the family's financial situation, so that in the end, the goal is to avoid debt, to avoid college debt, to avoid taking on student loans or parent loans. So that's how come we have had several students who supposedly were from well-off families, but were able to receive substantial financial aid offers, allowing them to avoid debt and often paying less than they would had they gone to a state university. Okay. So I hope you found this helpful. This is what I really wanted to talk about today because I've been getting this question quite a bit. But if you have any questions or comments, this lands for you in some way, or you have additional questions about anything that I have said, please feel free to put that in the comments. I will be happy to answer directly on the comments or address it in a future live. I also hope that you can share, like, and subscribe this YouTube page. I hope you can come to a future live. It's Fridays, typically Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a prospective college applicant, someone who's going to be applying to college this fall, and is ready to secure admission with full funding and avoid debt, please feel free to apply to our upcoming cohort of CFF College Fully Funded. We still have a couple spots left. I have put the link in the description. I will also pin a link in a comment after this video. So I look forward to seeing you next time here on another live, hopefully next week, Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Again, thank you so much for coming by. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Again, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe, and put whatever questions or comments you have in the comments. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.